So next step, we're going to look at the neck. So you have your trachea here. Beside the trachea, there's your sternocleidomastoid muscle. Remember, sternocleidomastoid muscle is that muscle for moving the neck. Reflected out of the way. So we have our trachea. The top of our trachea here, so trachea, you have your hyoid bone. Hyoid bone is kind of your Adam's apple. Right or wrapped around that hyoid bone is your thyroid gland. There's your thyroid gland, all right? Then you have on either side of the trachea is one of the most important bundle of vessels that we have in our body. You have your carotid artery, your jugular vein, and your vagus nerve. Remember, your vagus nerve is the nerve that's a cranial nerve that's coming down for the pacemaker activity for your heart. So super important things right here in the anterior triangle of the neck. The anterior triangle of the neck, you have your carotid artery, vagus nerve, and jugular vein. Can't really tell which is which because it hadn't been cleared out as very well yet, but we're heading that way. All right, so I'm gonna follow the trachea on down. We have our rib cage. We reflected the rib cage out of the way. Now, if you look, between each rib is muscle. So this is called intercostal muscle. And then even closer than that, along each rib on the bottom, you have a tiny little vessel and a tiny little nerve. Those are intercostal nerves and intercostal arteries. So we have an intercostal nerve right there associated with every single rib that helps you with the accessory breathing, helps you breathe in really, really deep when you need to. So intercostal nerves, intercostal muscles, okay? Once we reflect the rib cage out of the way, you can see a nice pretty diaphragm here. Now, the folks here on this table have already taken out their lungs. The lungs on either side of the pericardium, and you can see you have open holes. This will be your bronchioles coming down out of the trachea, and then you have blood-filled holes. The blood-filled holes will be the pulmonary arteries and veins going into and coming out of the lungs. Okay, then we have our heart here. Now the heart was covered up by the pericardium. This is the pericardium, which is a tough, dense, regular connective tissue that covers the completely over the heart, which we've already reflected out of the way. On either side of, you have this nerve called the phrenic nerve. Now it was up against the heart, but we've dissected it off here. The phrenic nerve is going to dive into the diaphragm from the neck, and it's going to keep that rhythm of breathing steady. It's nerve tissue coming straight from the brain all the way down into the diaphragm, keeps that that breathing steady as you go. Right down here, we have the inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava is coming out of the diaphragm. You're going to see it a different way, and there's the phrenic nerve on that side. And the inferior vena cava going up into the heart. And then you have your aorta in this bundle here as we go. So we're going to remove the heart real quick, and I'll show you a couple more things. So we have, going to cut the inferior vena cava. You get your hand in here and do some cutting. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I thought you had some. You're fine. You're fine. All right. So there's our inferior vena cava. So you can reorient the heart there, going through the inferior vena cava on the bottom, superior vena cava on top, which means the part of the probe you can't see is going to be in the right atrium. The right atrium where the blood's coming in, blood's going to go down to the right ventricle, and then it's going to go out the pulmonary artery, which is pulmonary trunk, which is probably that guy, to the lungs. Then it's going to come back to the heart through these guys right here. I kind of cut them off a little bit. They'd actually be smaller guys on either side. Will be your pulmonary veins going to the left atrium, down to the left ventricle, and then out through the aorta, which is probably actually cut off that guy right there. I probably cut that one off a little bit. But there's our heart. We can see all those great vessels down in here as well. And we're going to clean that out a little bit better as we go down through the diaphragm. Rock and roll.